Good evening. Welcome to PoliticIt podcast. Tonight we have Kim Coleman with us. And Kim, you're currently the vice chair of the Republican Party, but you're running for National Committeewoman.
That's right.
So let's first talk about what that actually means. A lot of people don't know what that position entails exactly.
Okay. So I have to excuse my Stevie Nicks singing voice today, but so it's important that delegates even know what they're voting for. A lot of them don't know that this April convention they're voting for a National Committeewoman, a National Committeeman. And every state gets 3 seats on the Republican National Committee. So our state party chair is the first one, and they'll choose a committeeman and a committeewoman. And in the Republican Party, we kind of know which lane to run in. So I'll be running for the National Committee woman, because we know what a woman is, and this seat actually takes place sometime next year. So it'll start roughly sometime in January. So we'll be past this election cycle and we'll be focusing on the 2028 election and making sure that we have a Republican in the White House. So generally the RNC is focused on electing Republicans to the presidency. And to whatever degree, we also will focus on initiatives that help that, as well as holding majorities in our Congress and our House and Senate. Taking back the Senate, of course, is a big priority. We hope we do that this year. And we'll be focusing on midterms, in 26, and then the presidency. Some of the main things the RNC does sort of functionally and on the administrative side is holding presidential debates. I have some pretty strong feelings about that. We should not ever subject our Republican candidates to a hostile network with a hostile moderator of a debate. So we should definitely control our debates better. We also will arrange and plan for the national conventions, which we'll have in Milwaukee this year. So Texas is already selected for 2028. So we'll be looking beyond that. And I would love to work on bringing a convention to Utah. So for me personally, as a Utah representative on the RNC, is I want to elevate Utah's voice. I mean, we do so many things right in this state. We have one of the best senators, and we should be a much stronger player, a much stronger, impactful voice on the national political stage. A lot of the various initiatives that kind of get us there, the RNC is finally a little bit late, a lot late looking at election integrity. So we have a lot of work to do there. Also, we need to focus more on building the bench and attracting and retaining our young people, because they will be leading and are starting to lead this country. So we're not losing them to the left so much as some of our young people don't know what we stand for at all.
Right.
Because their observations are that we don't stand for much. And so we have work to do to help them understand that their political home is the Republican Party, because naturally it's in their DNA to want freedom.
Right.
And that is with our party. And start to mentor them and support them and provide that political home for them. So there's a lot of work to do that way. The RNC members, the National Committeeman and Committeewoman, also help to fundraise for the state party. So
now, are both those positions up right now?
They are, yes.
So on the committeeman side, Brad Bonham
Bonham's the current.
In that. He's the current person, right?
Yes, and he's been great. We've seen a lot of good work for him. Now, he came in on a special election, so he's...
But he's still up for...
He's still up. So he came in partway through that term. It's a 4-year term. So the term is basically a presidential cycle. So every presidential election year, we're choosing the RNC members. So he's just come in pretty recently, but has really helped with the fundraising, a good conservative voice for Utah on the RNC. And one of the things I love about Brad is he has really raised the bar for reporting back to the Republicans of the state, both to the governing board of the party, the state central committee, and specifically to delegates, as well as general messaging to the whole.
And that's part of this position, really.
It should be, and it will be for me. And I think for people who know any office that I've held, I've been a very strong return and report person. So,
right.
So absolutely go do the job. job, but let the people know the job you're doing. And Brad has really set a good standard for that.
Now you've just gotten put in as the vice chair of the party, right?
I did.
Was that a special?
Also through that same special election. So this was
it was the same time.
It was sort of dominoes falling from the 2nd Congressional District race where the National Committeeman resigned to run for that race, and the vice chair resigned to run for that race. So that's where I came in as vice chair in a special election. Brad came in to the National Committeeman in a special election, same time. So we're both kind of new to this,
right.
But it's given me a really great opportunity to see the interaction of the national party with the state party. I've been very active in our county party. I've been a state delegate, a county delegate. I served in Salt Lake County as a Senate chair, and now with the state party. So to see really all those levels of the party structure and have a really good idea of really what the party does as an elected official, having served in the Utah House for 6 years and also having run for Congress in 2020, I have as much of an observation of what the party doesn't do and what I really wish it could do and what I think it can do better. So as the vice chair, hoping to, working through the rest of this year to accomplish some initiatives to improve the party.
So let's go to the state party for a second. So as vice chair there, I know there's, I know there's a lot of talk all the time within the party. SB 54 actually hurt the party, I think, in terms of the prestige.
Oh, absolutely.
And what. So what have you done to kind of help with that? And as a state party, tell me some of the things you guys are doing to really strengthen, to bring people back, really.
Yeah. Well, so as a state party in our Constitution, the vice chair, it's a one line. My job is to show up to places where Rob, our state party chair, Rob Axon, can't show up, and I've done that, I think, pretty well. But to the degree he's also allowed me or asked me to do specific initiatives. And part of that is that youth engagement. Like, we are trying to bring together mentoring programs, support programs for our young Republicans, college Republicans, teenage Republicans. And I have a son who tried to start a teenage Republican club. There was nothing for him. So there is the messaging, there is the election integrity piece that we are also looking at as a party, and working with the national party to, again, the parties have been a day late on election integrity. So for me, SB 54 really did have an impact in definitely adverse ways on the party relevance, the party strength. But it's not the only thing. Nationally, the RNC is looking at, I kind of think they, to some degree, should be better on looking at the heat map nationally, the 30,000-foot view of what are all of the threats to Republican infrastructure, to Republican outcomes in our elections, whether it's ranked choice voting, whether it's national popular vote, whether it's illegal immigrants voting, where do we have a weakness in Utah because we give non-citizens driver's licenses. So we're looking into, and I shouldn't say that's necessarily a party thing, but for me personally, working with different networks to make sure we don't have a weakened system in that may allow for voter fraud. So SB 54 is one of the many things that both the state party and the national party should be paying attention to. The Missouri Senate just passed it's looking for a constitutional amendment passed the Senate that prohibits illegal immigrants from voting in any election, and it would constitutionally prohibit ranked choice voting. So the RNC, and I'm learning about some of these things that are happening in individual states through some other networks where I think really the RNC should be the national receptacle, again, the heat map for any threats to the Republican Party in our election outcomes, and threats to our message, and whether that's free speech issues, which we've worked on together.
Yeah. I know you were a big advocate while you were in the legislature on that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the RNC should be and can be uniquely situated to say, we see some trends. Let's get on this. Let's be strategic. Let's be proactive, not simply
And all of those are a piece
reacting.
of being a national committee.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the national party can also sort of give that example, give that lead to strengthen our state parties, to strengthen county parties. And the party apparatus, whether it's state or the national, really creates the field, creates the structure, creates equal playing fields so that the people can choose their nominees,
Right.
the people choose their candidates. So I think most people would know who I would vote for people,
Right.
but in these positions, I have really had to practice neutrality.
Right.
And my job really is to create that equal playing field so voters can decide
Right.
things. So what can the
Members
RNC,
of the party, right.
members of the party through their nomination processes, which I love the caucus and convention system. I believe we get the best outcomes through the people who really vet our candidates.
Right.
But we do have the signature
Hey, we're going
thing
to
out
take
there.
a break, and we'll come right back. So hold that
right.
thought. Okay.
Hi, I'm Kim Coleman, and I'm running to serve as Utah's National Committeewoman. Thank you for your service to our party and your community, and I look forward to being with you at our state convention. The Republican National Committee is the face and voice of our Republican conservative principles and values, and it is beyond time to start winning again. With the recent selection of new leadership, the RNC has finally pointed in the right direction, and I will be a driving force to continue to move towards success. Success in electing Donald Trump this year and a Republican president in 2028. Success in achieving congressional majorities. Success in promoting what it means to be a Republican, because too many have forgotten what it means to be a Republican. Success in retaining our youth. Success in cleaning up our elections, and success in fundraising and creating initiatives to achieve all of these things. You know me as someone who has long served our party and has a strong record of speaking out and for our core Republican principles. It's time Utah have a stronger voice in national politics, and I'm the committee woman to help achieve that. I'm Kim Coleman. You can contact me and learn more at kimforutah.com. See you at convention.
Welcome back to PoliticIt. We've got Kim Coleman with us, Vice Chair of the State Republican Party, running for National Committeewoman.
Right.
We did quite a bit of talk about what that job entails. What specifically about you? I mean, I know you as a very conservative state legislator. What about you, I think, uniquely qualifies you for that position?
Well, I think let's start with the conservative credential first, because that's what, everybody wants to know, who is she conservative, and especially the delegates. And as you know, I served in the Utah House for 6 years, so I have an actual record. I mean, you can go pull this stuff
Right.
up, what I voted for.
I know free speech was a big issue that you worked on for quite a while.
Free speech was a big thing, and I feel like I was a minute ahead of the time on that, because it took 6 years, and many legislators voted against that, but now everybody's awake, and they're like, okay, she knew a thing.
It's interesting, actually, last term with the state board, USHE, the resolution that was passed on basically free speech on
Right.
campus,
Right.
political neutrality and I credit you with kind of getting that ball rolling, right?
I'm glad more of the legislature finally woke up
Yeah.
And so I would say that's where I would start with. I'm wide awake.
Right.
So CPAC actually ranked me in the top 10 lifetime most conservative legislators. So I definitely have that conservative record. I'm not someone that is known to go along to get along with any, whatever you want to call it, establishment, leadership, or whatever. The Mitch McConnells of the world have gotten us in trouble. And so I have that record too. Frequently, I did not vote with my caucus because I took a more conservative position.
Right.
However, I think I have a very good reputation in the whole political sphere of being able to work with people without ever compromising my values and principles. But I can bring people in a room. We can talk. I'm going to listen. And if I disagree with you, I disagree with you. I'm still doing what I'm going to do. Nobody's ever surprised by my positions.
Trump gets the one thing I can say that Trump gets a lot of criticism, even among Republicans, especially in Utah, right, is that he's mean, right? I mean, that's something they throw at him all the time. And I think you've been able to do that without being mean. Yeah. Taking a very strong conservative stance, right?
I think so. And I think, to me, it's important to not ever go personal. I talk about a position. I talk about a piece of legislation. I talk about principles and values. I don't ever name call people, and I don't think that gets you anywhere. But I will say this policy is wrong, or this position is wrong, or I disagree with it. But and I have a record. I mean, I have lots of content out there, John. I've been podcasting for years. When I was in the legislature, I did nightly videos telling my constituents and the general public what I think you should be paying attention to on the Hill. Very well watched things, and I still meet people in grocery stores or whatever that say, I miss your podcast on the Hill. I felt like I knew what was going on. And so I have that solid record in content, in voting records of being that strong conservative, but also, I have a positive regard among people in the political sphere. So
and that's really important at that national level, right, within the party.
So
the party's the whole U.S. is not Utah, and I think we have a lot to offer.
Absolutely, and I know a couple of people on the RNC, and my own observations are there are similar factions to our state party. You still have a range of types of Republicans that serve and really what their interests are and what they care about the most and what they're trying to do for their states back home. And there are over 150 people. So all 50 states have 3 representatives. There are also representatives from some of the American U.S. territories. So if I'm going to go on that committee and I want to make a difference, I think, number one, I've proven that I can break through the fog and the chatter of a large legislative body or a large governing body. And so I can do that, and I do that effectively. And part of that starts from a place of courage, and a part of that is imperative that we need to speak. And I'm not afraid to speak. And I'm not afraid to offend. But I don't go to offend. And so I think I have that quality. At least people are even telling me that, which is kind of nice to hear, is that I have that quality.
I've heard some of that conversation, right? So what do you think that I mean, the delegates are going to pick this, right?
Yeah.
This is not something that's going to a primary afterwards.
Right.
There's going to be a decision at the state convention on this deal.
That's right.
So what kinds of things have you been hearing from delegates? Because I know you've attended a lot of meetings across the state and meeting with the delegates. So
some things are fun. Some lady came up to me at an event last night, and I put out my hand to introduce, and she said, "Can I just give you a hug? Because I have followed you, and you just stand for the things I believe in." So I have done a lot in this state to forward our conservative values and principles. I've done it as an elected official. I've I've done it on the party side. And even when I was in the legislature, I ran for party positions because I feel like, I believe this, elected officials should kind of go in and do a little bit and then get out, but the party should remain strong and remain that structure and apparatus to continue to get conservatives elected. And so I believe in the party, and I've served in the party, I think, most of my adult life since the first caucus, since I first, said, what's a caucus? And I go to my first caucus meeting, and I've never missed one. So I've raised money for the party. I've tried to be a strong voice for the party.
Yeah,
so.
and that's something that's going fairly well this year with the state party in terms of bringing back money into the party.
Yeah.
People have kind of drifted away from that, right, and gone to funding individual candidates, and the candidates for election have picked up a lot of the expenses of the party, which it should be the other way around.
It should be the other way around. I mean, there's a little bit of ecosystem where you can raise money in a different way than the party can, but there's both of that. And it should primarily be the party. So we are about to hit $1 million. We haven't seen that for years. $1 million. Interestingly, that's the state party.
Right.
And almost half of that is in a federal account. So it is earmarked to preserve our federal elections and engage in federal election activity. That's huge. We don't know if we've ever seen that much money. So we have donors that are either new or returning to funding the state Republican Party because they like what they're seeing, they like what they're hearing from us, and I'm happy to be a part of that and glad to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's great. We're about out of time, but why don't you make one more pitch, to the delegates?
Okay, so I definitely, my conservative credentials are there, as we've mentioned, that I can go and serve on a governing board of the national party, help fundraise for our state back home. But the party needs to be relevant. Even when I tell my friends and family that I'm running for this, they're like, why? What does it even do? That's why I'm going. You're going to find out what the Republican National Committee can do because we're going to be a strong voice. Utah should be an example to so many other states. And going to serve on that committee, I believe that I will stand out among the 150 plus people with that strong conservative voice. We just unelected, the RNC just got rid of a failing head coach and has brought in new leadership. And so we are definitely poised now, pointed in the right direction to start winning again as a national party. And so I will be an absolute asset on that team to go take a seat and help be a key player on a new winning team of the RNC.
Yeah, well, we never get sick of winning, do we? Thanks, Kim. It's nice having you. We'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.